Let's start our bulletin in Egypt, where millions have witnessed the swearing-in of the head of the Constitutional Court, Adli Mahmoud Mansour, as the country's interim head of state. Now, this, of course, comes a day after the Egyptian military ousted Mohamed Morsi. Adli Mansour was appointed the head of Egypt's top court on the 1st of July. He has served in the judiciary, as the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court. Now, the 67-year-old judge is virtually unknown outside Egypt, but he has been the deputy head of the Supreme Court since 1992. Now, for more details on the developments that are ongoing in Egypt, we're now joined live by CCTV's Yasser Hakim. Yasser, what's the mood in Cairo and across Egypt as well following the swearing-in of the interim president?
Well, the celebrations are continuing this morning. It's been all night, and here in Tahrir Square it's a bit quiet on right now, but during the swearing-in there was an air show over Tahrir Square by the Air Forces. There was music, people were singing and dancing in the morning, early in the morning hours. The celebrations continue. The papers today, for example, it's saying it's done, Morsi is gone. That's the Egyptian newspapers today. That's an example. That's Ahram Weekly, and that's the Egyptian Gazette. It says Morsi in the same boat as Mubarak. So those are just an example of the mood in Egypt, the celebrations, and the hope, and kind of being optimistic that maybe the next few months will be better than the last couple of years.
Indeed. What kind of person, however, is Adli Mansour, and how likely is it really that he will be operating freely from military influence, given what we saw after the military took over when Hosni Mubarak was ousted 2 years ago?
He's a quiet person. He's a judge. He's very respected. He's on the top of the list of the best judges in Egypt. The higher constitutional court are the best judges, the most respected judges. But he has no experience in politics. What he will do actually is concentrate more on the legal side, the amendments to the constitution, the election law, overseeing the parliamentary and presidential elections. But the day-to-day work, the political side of the equation, will be done by the Prime Minister and the government. The Prime Minister will be giving more powers than the previous Prime Minister, Hisham Kandil. And obviously, this will all be overseen by the military and the head of the military, Mr. Sisi. So actually, he will be more of a symbolic side politically, but more he will concentrate on the legal side of the affairs in the next few months.
Indeed. What do we know, however, about the whereabouts of the former president, Mohamed Morsi?
Right now, what we know is that he is being held in custody at the headquarters of the military intelligence. That's the latest we've heard of, and that was last night, late last night. Nothing new has come out, but a lot of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood are now under custody, because throughout the night they have been a lot of fear that they would try to create chaos in the country in reaction to the decisions made up by the military yesterday.
Indeed. Speaking on that particular line of thought, there were of course fears of violence from the supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood. What's the situation now, and what's the Brotherhood's next move going to be?
Well, during the night it was a bit violent, but mainly in areas away from Cairo, in Upper Egypt, in Suhag and Minya, the two places where there is a lot of followers by the Muslim Brotherhood. We should not forget that they have millions of followers. And until now, we've got the latest casualties. Around 12 people were killed last night. Around 515 are injured. About 150 of them critically injured. And they are all casualties due to attacks by the Muslim Brotherhood. Leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood have been arrested during the night. Right now it's calm, calmer than late last night, and the police and the military forces are working together to try to contain this situation.
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being, though. Thank you very much for that update. That's CCTV's Yasser Hakim live in the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Some stunning events, quite frankly, happening in that part of the world over the last 24 hours. We'll keep you updated on the latest developments as they do occur. Now, of course, Wednesday is deemed to be a fairly long day for Egyptians. Most of them had no idea what to expect, really, when they took to the streets to protest against the former president, Mohamed Morsi. CCTV's Adel Mahrouki takes us through the unfolding events of the day that saw the military oust the former president.
This is the Egyptian Radio and Television Building, one of the most secured facilities in Egypt. Few hours ago, the army evacuated the building from its employees, preparing for the end of its 48 hours deadline to President Morsi. From this building, the army statement will be announced. Time is moving slowly, and all Egyptians are anxious to know what will happen next.
I support Morsi. Time is moving slow, and I want to know what is ahead for us. But I feel that Morsi will not continue, but I hope the best for my country.
We're heading to Tahrir Square, where thousands have been gathering, expecting the army statement. It didn't set a certain time for it. However, they're still waiting. The armed forces have been meeting all political sects, aiming to reach a consensus.
Egyptians will get rid of this dictator of the Brotherhood. Those who use religion for political gains. We're all Muslims. There's no difference between Muslim, Christian, Shia, or anyone else. They will not do anything. His last speech showed us that his rule was ending.
Morsi has to leave power, because if he doesn't, we will force him to leave.
This is it. This is the moment all they've been waiting for. No constitution and no more Morsi. From Tahrir Square, a warm goodbye to the former president Mohamed Morsi. And Egyptians have made history for the second time in 2 years, ousting two presidents, Mohamed Mubarak and Mohamed Morsi. Adel Mahrouki, CCTV, Cairo.
I am Egypt's elected president. Those were the words of Mohamed Morsi after the Egyptian army ousted him on Wednesday. He released an amateur video which was posted on the internet insisting he is Egypt's legitimately elected head of state. Now, Morsi's office, of course, rejected the army move, describing it as illegal and called on Egyptians to peacefully resist the coup. Sentiments, of course, also echoed on the Twitter account of the Egyptian presidency. Egyptians opposed to Morsi are still celebrating on the streets of Cairo after the army's ouster. Morsi was Egypt's first freely elected president, and he came in under massive pressure in the run-up to Sunday's anniversary of his maiden year in office, with his opponents accusing him of failing to live up to the ideals of the 2011 revolution by concentrating power in Islamist hands.
I am the elected president of Egypt, and everyone must respect the constitution.
Quick run through the reactions now. The chair of the African Union Commission, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, has released a statement regarding the concerns that the African Union has about the tension and the developments prevailing in Egypt at the moment. In that statement, Zuma recalled the AU's principled position on unconstitutional changes of government, which underlines the need for all Egyptian stakeholders to work towards a resolution of the current crisis through dialogue in order to find an appropriate response to the popular aspirations within the framework of legal means and the Egyptian institutions. Zuma also stressed the AU's commitment to contribute to a peaceful resolution of the current crisis, and she also said that the AU intends to dispatch to Egypt as soon as possible a group of eminent African personalities to consult with Egyptian stakeholders and assist in the initiation of a responsible and constructive dialogue that would help the Egyptian people overcome the difficult situation they currently are facing. In the meantime, the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has appealed for calm and restraint in Egypt. In a statement that did not directly condemn the Egyptian armed forces ouster of Mohamed Morsi as president, he urged the preservation of rights such as freedom of expression and assembly. Ban said it would be absolutely crucial to quickly reinforce civilian rule in accordance with the principles of democracy. That announcement came as Egypt's military shut down 3 Islamist-run TV stations on Wednesday, including one operated by the Muslim Brotherhood. The security forces also reportedly raided the offices of Al Jazeera's Egyptian news channel and detained at least 5 of its staff members. 4 of them, however, were later on released. 10 minutes into the hour, it's time for a short break. Here's what's coming up next. ease in Kunu. The remains of Mandela's children are to be reburied after court order in South Africa. And Chad's former leader, Hissène Habré, awaits trial for crimes against humanity in Senegal.
We follow the latest trends in global politics, economics, culture and sport, and how Africa fits into the global picture. You decide what's important.
We need some trade and justice.
Africa's future will be determined by Africa.
For women's equal opportunity, for a better life.
We have to change something, and it's not the outsiders.
Talk Africa, a new voice for the world.
Welcome back. Let's move on to South Africa now, where Nelson Mandela's family, including his wife Graça Michelle, his daughters and most of his grandchildren, will soon be granted their wish to bury Madiba's 3 deceased children at the Mandela family home. Now, that development comes after the Mthatha High Court ordered yesterday Madiba's grandson Mandla Mandela to return those remains to the family. CCTV's Renee Delcam has been following this story. She filed this report.
The remains of the 3 Mandela children, who are all descendants of Madiba and his first wife, Evelyn Mase, are expected to be reburied in the former president's home village here in Kunu later today. The remains were exhumed from the homestead of Madiba's grandson, Mandla Mandela, in Mvezo on Wednesday evening. They were kept overnight at a funeral home in Mthatha, about 30 kilometers from Kunu. All 3 sets of remains have been taken for forensic testing today to confirm their identities. And once this has been concluded, they'll be brought to the Mandela family farm here, where they will finally be laid to rest. The Mandela family have now admitted that their father's health is perilous and that they anticipate his impending death. And they say they do not wish to commit him to the earth entirely alone in a burial site without his children. They have also confirmed that their beloved father and the father of the South African nation, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, will be buried here at the Mandela family farm when he dies. Renee Delcam, CCTV, Kunu.
Over in West Africa, a special tribunal in Senegal on Tuesday charged the former Chadian leader Hissène Habré with war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture and genocide. The court there remanded him in custody pending trial. Habré was detained in Senegal, where he's been living in exile for 22 years since he was overthrown in a coup in Chad. With the details, here's CCTV's Desiree Canon.
Chadian former President Hissène Habré awaits a court appearance after his arrest in Senegal by investigators who say they have serious evidence to put him on trial for crimes against humanity.
We suggest there's enough evidence to charge Mr. Hissène Habré, and as the prosecutor of the Republic, we have decided to keep him in custody and present him to the investigative judge on Tuesday.
Human rights groups hold Mr. Habré responsible for the torture or killing up to 40,000 people during the 8 years he led Chad. In a press conference he gave on Monday, the chief prosecutor said after a comprehensive study on Habré issue, they discovered that widespread systematic attacks were ordered against civilian populations. Victims' representatives on Tuesday praised the decision to charge Habré, but his defense team branded a kidnapping. The charges against Mr. Habré were handed down at the end of a 2-hour meeting at the Extraordinary African Chambers. His lawyer voices his concern.
We won many cases in the past years. I think there is a hidden hand that merely wants the elimination, the destruction, or the death of Mr. Habré. Anyway, Mr. Habré has never enjoyed the presumption of innocence. He has already been found guilty. They say he's a dictator and he killed people. They condemn him without any condition. But we will continue to fight as we did with success for the past 13 years.
The The special court to prosecute Habré was inaugurated earlier this year after more than 2 decades of living freely in Senegal. 4 of Habré's former directors involved in the killing will also be prosecuted, say Mr. Mbake Fall, the court attorney general. Désiré Canon, CCTV, Dakar, Senegal.